welcome back to the Uncharted podcast. Today I have a very special guest. He's actually my uncle. And today we're going to be talking about various different things about him traveling around the country, doing his job, different things into what a day in his life looks like at work, and going from there and see what we can gain wisdom and knowledge from him so that we can learn how to put it into our lives and we can go and help and grow and be successful in our lives. So without further ado, my guest today, James Verdau.
Thanks for having me, Isaac. I appreciate
it. Of course. How are you doing today?
Doing good. We just moved a piano.
Yeah, we had some fun. My back's doing all right now.
That's the important thing.
I'm doing good. But I'll start with my first question. So what's your job title in your field?
So my job title, I'm a senior technical consultant. So I'm a chemical engineer by education. I've the past probably 17 years, I've worked doing industrial automation control systems for chemical plants, fired equipment. The last several years, I've been doing more energy and sustainability type consulting for lots of different customers. We're cross industry, so there's no telling who I'll be working with next, but it's an interesting role.
Okay. So what made you want to go into that industry?
Well, it's a good question. I guess, my first love was mechanical drafting.
Okay.
I loved to draw and design things as a kid. I went to high school, learned to be a draftsman, got a 2-year degree in that right after high school. I went to work for a boiler company.
Really?
So I was drawing industrial utility class boilers and really enjoyed that work. And I took a business trip once with a couple of older engineers, and they kind of waylaid me. They said, look, you can do that kind of work and it's fine, but someone like you really should consider engineering. And my dad's also a chemical engineer, so I always kind of had that example and inspiration. So at age 24, I took the leap. I started later than most people usually do.
Yeah.
So I was about 5 years behind, the other students when I started at U of L. But jumped in, worked full time, went to school part time. It took about 7 years to get through. Got married, had children, did it all the wrong way. I tell everyone, don't be me. I was the poster child for, if you're going to do that, jump in when you're
young.
Fresh and young and can go for it. But I stuck with it. And 2001, graduated with my Bachelor of Science, Chemical Engineering. And it's been a good career since then.
So did your dad ever push it on you to go that way, or did he let you find your own way and do your own thing?
I think it was a bit of a frustration to my dad because 16, 17, he's like, you're going to Purdue, you're going to do this. And I just really kind of had other ideas for my life. And even when I started school, University of Louisville, I switched majors a few times.
Really?
I started mechanical engineering. I fell in love with chemistry. I switched to a chemistry major. And finally, roundabout way, settled on chemical engineering, which made Dad very happy. Yeah. But I told him, I had to discover it for myself.
Yes, of course.
I think that's important for anyone. You want to, please your parents. You want to, pick a good life path for yourself. But I think it has to be yours to discover. And I can truly say, yes, my dad and I do the same profession, but I went around the barn a couple of times, but I did find it for myself. And it matched my talents. It matched my personality. So it all worked out well.
You had to find something that you wanted to do.
That I wanted to do, yeah. And it's a tough program, and I guess anything you get into, it's there's a price to pay to learn that, and
nothing's free.
If you go into something just for the money, you probably won't stick with it. Yeah. You have to have a love for it, and then the rest will follow, I feel.
Okay, so that's very interesting seeing how, because a lot of people will say they get into something, they're just going to go for the money, and then after a while you don't hear about them.
Right.
So then ask them what happened. I said, well, I wanted to do this. I really didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
But
It's been a good career. There's some days I'd rather be at the drafting board still because I still love to draw. I always, had a lot of success with that through high school. But it's been a good career. No complaints.
And so I've heard with your job, it takes you overseas.
Yes.
So what is your favorite country you've traveled to thus far?
Oh boy. So I guess I've pretty much been to every continent at this point. Been all over Europe, Central, South America. Been to Asia, Australia.
Oh, I want to go there.
Africa. Just came back from the Middle East a few weeks back.
I heard about that.
I guess what's closest to my heart, I'd have to say France. There's just something about France. Yeah.
What part?
It's traveled mostly to northern France.
Okay.
Yeah, doing industrial type gigs, if you will, for customers overseas.
Wow.
The food is second to none. French cuisine.
Really?
It's oh gosh.
Of all the places French food?
Yeah. Good French cuisine, the heavy creams, they know how to use flavors. It is great. Yeah.
Okay. So when you go over there, like, what does a day in your life look like when you're working? Like,
so, first of all, I'm very spoiled when I travel overseas because I work for a global company. Mm-hmm. And so any place that I go to, there's going to be an office of my company. There's people there waiting on me that have already taken care of travel visas. They've arranged hotels. They'll put a younger engineer with me just to help, especially when there's a language barrier.
Okay.
That's familiar with the local. So I don't have to figure much out myself. A lot of that's taken care of for me. So I'm very blessed to have had that experience.
So once you get there, you just hands-on. You have everything you need.
It's pretty much hands-on. All in all, it's mostly business. I'm there to do a survey of a chemical plant or, some gold mine somewhere or whatever I'm being sent to look at. But there are precious few minutes for moments where I do get to see some pretty cool cultural things. Okay. Because usually when I go, it's going to be for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Oh, to really justify the expense because it's not cheap to
go for a week
and get us out there. So there's usually a weekend, and they'll point me to the local things to see. Okay. So I do treasure those moments, and I take lots of photos, and
I'm sure
it's been a blessing. It's something I never really would have been able to do by myself. I mean, it's all been corporate travel, but a lot of times they say, "Oh, what was Germany like?" And say, "Well, it was a conference room that it was about 20 feet long and about 12 feet wide and had a big table in the middle." But here and there, I have gotten to see some pretty neat things.
That's good. So, with you enjoying it, what would you say all of the countries that you've been to have in common?
You mean as far as how it's affected me?
Yes.
I'm an American. Mm-hmm. I love America. This is my home. Mm-hmm. But I think when you do leave your borders and you are surrounded by a different language and a different culture, it's not, to me, I don't make comparisons of who's living the better life, but you do realize that parts of the world have a very different idea of how to live their life. Mm-hmm. And Americans are known for working ourselves into the ground. Yes. And a lot of countries, it's a little more relaxed way of living, and they enjoy life. Each culture is different. Working around the Chinese, they have a certain way of interacting. Yeah. When I'm in Costa Rica, that's a whole different kind of interaction. When I'm in Northern Europe, there's pluses and minuses, and so from a business standpoint, you kind of have to learn how to interact with different people from different countries. In Latin America, they have to feel that they've built a friendship with you. They want to know about your family. They want to know about your kids. And only once that's been established, then they feel, hey, we can do business together.
You have a connection.
Yeah, and you'll have a friend for life. Okay. In Northern Europe, not so much. Hey, that's none of your business to ask about my kids, and things are more formal. And you have to understand that too.
So you have to adapt to wherever you go to.
That's
to the culture.
Right.
Okay.
And I have found and I've told my kids this, I tell anyone this, if you can at least learn to say hello and thank you in as many languages as you can, or at least particularly where you're going to go, that really opens some doors.
Really?
I think when people feel, you're not this entitled American, because the world speaks English.
Yeah,
And again, I'm spoiled that way. If I go, I don't have to, run through an interpreter for the most part. The world speaks English, and I'm, spoiled on that. But if you just make an effort,
Go a little bit more.
yeah, that's right.
It shows to them.
Right, to just make the effort, and it puts a smile on their face, and it opens some doors, I think.
That's interesting because I watched a man called Patrick McDavid, and he talks about having to unplug. Say you're talking in one culture, and you talk to them, and then you go to a different. You have to unplug from here and plug into here to talk to them.
That's
because
right.
no two cultures are the same.
That's right. Yeah.
And he talks about how they appreciate it that you go the extra mile, you push for it. Said, you're here, I'm going to respect you for what you do and how you live.
That's right.
And not to say I'm all high and mighty and just put it on you and said, you do this, and then becoming more of like a family type thing. Say, I'm going to come to you on the same level as you.
Sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So, what's your favorite food? And then I'll ask you your least food of all the countries you've been to.
Well, we talked about France. Mm-hmm. French cuisine is top notch.
Okay.
In my travels in Asia, South Korea was surprisingly excellent food.
Really?
Yeah, Korean barbecue.
Okay.
That's the thing. You're sitting at a round table. There's a charcoal pit in front of you, and with a pot of boiling water or a skillet, and you're cooking your food, and it's got all these marinades, and it's really a good time.
So comparing to South Korean places in America, is it the same or is it Americanized?
Yeah, Chinese food there is not Chinese food here.
So is it better there or here?
The food here, the Chinese food here, it's meant for American tastes. I'll put it that.
Okay.
With China, I've had a full range of this is just fantastic to I can't believe you all consider this food. And I feel terrible saying that on an interview, but in China, I've had in Shanghai, those famous Shanghai dumplings where there's like a broth.
Yes, sir.
That's created in the dumpling, and you bite into it, and it's just fantastic. Or I've been to Xi'an, where in more central China, food's much more spicy. It's more like of a Thai cuisine. But again, China also is the other range. I've been served jellyfish. I've been served.
What was that like?
It's like chewing a piece of
Rubber,
and it just never goes away.
Oh man!
And again, you have to be polite because they're rolling out the best they have to you, and you and swallow, and it was good. Smile and.
So do you like sushi?
Not really a fan.
Not really?
But I've had pufferfish.
How's that?
Well, it's a very poisonous fish.
Yeah,
So
that's
if
what
it's
I've
not
heard.
made exactly right, I guess you fall over dead. But
Yes.
I guess I lucked out, and it was really pretty good.
Good. Okay, so move on to the next one. So, are there any issues? You said that you usually have somebody with you. Has there been any issues where there's been a language barrier that has caused a problem with you in your working experience?
Well, I wouldn't say caused a problem, but especially dealing with technical things like in my line of work, a lot of times in particular, not everyone speaks English.
Yes.
Particularly operators, and that's the same way everywhere. And that local resource is great, but you have to be very clear to make sure that there is understanding being carried across.
Okay.
You learn pretty quickly just because someone's shaking their head yes does not mean that they comprehended exactly what you're saying. Okay. And there's times I've had to, throw myself as maybe I'm the one that's not understanding, just to give it a chance to reiterate.
I got you.
To really make sure that there's good communication.
So they don't get offended and say you're trying to.
Yeah, and in Asia, saving face is important. Uh, they don't want to appear not to understand something in front of their colleagues because that's kind of frowned upon.
Okay.
So again, you have to know those things, and
Yes.
sometimes, well, I'll just take it that I'm the one
It's messing up.
that's having a difficulty, and let's just talk about it again. And you can tell, secretly that it's appreciated that you're getting them caught up, but there was no embarrassment, because you don't want to offend anyone.
Exactly.
You want to get along with everyone.
So, and it makes it, as you said, the process goes smoother if everybody can just be happy on the same level and
That's right.
continue to go forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So, say for me, I want to go to Australia. How was that?
Oh, I've been to Australia 3 times.
Oh my goodness.
And it is a very neat place. It's an outdoor lifestyle. People love the outdoors. They're all about physical activity, keeping in shape. One thing that really surprised me, given how huge Australia is, I thought, there must be 80, 100 million people there, but there's not. There's maybe 20, 22 million. And they're just all scattered around the coastal cities.
That's small.
I think culturally, there's some neat things to see, but there's a lot of similarities too.
Okay.
Their country is about the same age as our country. We both gained independence about the same time. We both built a country out of the wilderness, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, you're not going to see, 800-year-old cathedrals there like you would in Europe.
Yes.
Because everything's about the same age as what it is here. But, there's a common heritage of ruggedness, and they're just great people. I've loved going down there.
Okay. So, how would you rank the food of? You said France was at the top.
Oh, yeah.
You said so. Where would you put Korea, Australia, and Germany of those 4? How would you one be in the top?
Oh, boy. Well, France is still my top. I'd say South Korea. It really impressed me. I like the food. And then Germany is great. What was the 4th one? Oh, was
Australia.
Australia, there's not really Australian cuisine.
Really?
No, there's a lot of Thai restaurants. There's a lot of Italian places, fast food places. I'm not a cultural expert on Australia by any means, but it was really pretty good. Except for one night, I was walking around and I saw that there was a Mexican restaurant. I said, "Wow, man, that's cool." So I like Mexican food, so here I am, 12,000 miles from home, walking into a Mexican plate, and I realized Australia is pretty far from Mexico. It is not the same, but it was good. It was a noble try, but it just wasn't Texas,
They're doing their best.
Yeah, they did their best.
So we've talked meats. So what have you tried any kind of different steaks in different places? Like say South Korea, how do they do a steak? Is it good on your scale?
It seemed like mostly chicken and fish.
Yeah.
In South Korea. I think the best steaks I've had were in Australia.
Really?
They're really big on that. It's like a wagyu
Yeah.
wagyu beef, and
Yeah.
boy, I mean, they make a good steak down there. I was pretty impressed. Yeah.
Huh. I got you. We'll move on to the next one. This one of my favorites says, I like to travel. I want to go to Germany and Australia and different places. What are a few of the best tips for you for somebody that's going to travel outside of the country?
Take twice the money and half the clothes
Really?
that you think you're going to need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, those first few trips I took, I packed enough clothes for 6 months. I just way overdid it.
Okay.
Wherever you go, pack for the low temperatures. Get the forecast, and pack for the low. So you're not cold and appropriately. But don't take as much as you think you need. And then on the money side, taxis, museums, it adds up. So having a few extra dollars in your pocket, more than you might have thought, is probably a good idea too.
Okay. So you going over there, you would encourage somebody to definitely jump into their culture, like jump into their food, try new things. Don't go over there and stiff and start. You just go over there and
You've got to
experience it.
I'm an adventurous person by nature. I have a wanderlust to, I'll just go out walking. What's around that corner? What's that building? Oh, there's an old church. I'd like to see that. If you stay in a hotel room the whole time, you're just missing out. I mean, you got to be safe. You got to be sensible. There's dark alleys everywhere in the world that you need to steer clear of.
Okay.
But again, especially in Asia, without my colleagues, there's places that I got to see I would have never even known that they were there. So that local knowledge just really means a lot. If you can connect with someone over there, if you have a friend that lives there that where you want to go, that can make really just double the experience, I think, of your time over there.
Okay.
I mean, you can do all the touristy stuff. There's nothing wrong with all that. But,
Yeah.
There's no substitute for local knowledge.
Definitely, just like here.
Yeah.
Wherever state you're in, there's local things that you would never find if you didn't know the locals.
That's right.
So have you ever ventured out and cooked any of your own meals with getting some of the local produce and everything? Have you ever done that while you've been in a different country?
That's a good question, and I'd like to say yes, but I just have not.
Okay.
But I have come back from those trips and asked my wife, hey, can you buy me a bottle of this really cool sauce they put on stuff over there? And so I guess I bring it back more and try it here once I get back home. But
Gotcha.
I just don't have many options for finding a
Local
place to
store
cook
and
and lots of restaurants, but I just don't get a chance to cook for myself.
Okay. So how is the jet lag from going to different countries?
It is a problem. Yeah. Case in point, going to Australia, it's 14 hours ahead. So you're traveling to the future pretty much, and it can take 3 or 4 days to get you going, and it's especially tough when you're going on business, and you got to be bright and sharp on their morning to start absorbing huge amounts of information. So yeah, it's hitting the coffee pretty hard.
Oh, there you go.
It's insane. Just 3 a.m, your eyes are wide open. You just cannot sleep. It's frustrating. So I've tried melatonin and found some things that kind of help
Smooth it over and everything.
smooth it over. And it's probably even worse when you come back
Okay.
because you just feel like you should just step right back into your normal time zone. But if you've been over somewhere for a couple of weeks, your body just doesn't
It starts.
just doesn't like those kind of changes. It's tough on you.
I got you. 'Cause that's one thing for me. I haven't experienced it yet, so I'm a little excited to see those places. I'm very excited, but
Yeah.
that's one thing is that you always pay a price when you want to go somewhere.
Research it. Everyone's kind of got their own system. A lot of people swear by, take a sleeping pill on the flight over.
Okay.
If you're
I
going to
have heard-
Germany, it's 8-10 hour flight. Get as much sleep, and then that kind of helps get your clock at least a head start. Other people hold off sleep and just collapse at the end of the day wherever you're going, and that seems to
Help them.
be the thing that kind of kickstarts them. But you got to listen to your body. It's different for everyone.
Okay. Nice. So, is there any advice that you want to give to anybody getting into college for how to keep up with maybe their spiritual life, with their family? Like, don't neglect people, but is there any advice that you want to give them that will help them overcome maybe things that will pull on them to?
Sure, right. Guard your heart. Guard your heart. Good, bad, right, wrong, indifferent. There's an agenda at college. In part, and I say this to be fair, part of going to college is to get an education, to learn how to learn. I mean, as an engineer, it's not, I learned 4 years worth of formulas and, high mathematics and it's just all stuff. It's more of, you're taught how to solve problems. You're taught how to think. And if you want to be an accountant or a physician or whatever you're going, a teacher, whatever you want to study, you're being taught how to think. And part of you should change.
Yes.
There should be a change that comes. And a way of thinking and new patterns of looking at the world. But I think we're, especially if you're convicted with theological convictions,
Yes.
you're a believer, you have a root of religion. It's something you have to guard against. It's not always a welcome topic in the universities, and we're in this postmodernist world, and the classical education that involved religion, it's just not there anymore.
Yes.
So, with engineering, the bulk of it is just learning how nature works, and it's neither religious or atheistic. It's just ideal gas law and chemical reactions and thermodynamics and the whole bit. I didn't have to face a lot of attempts to remold my thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a few electives, but some of the other majors I do know, in philosophy, or if you study more of a humanities-based education, there's going to be a real pressure to get you thinking a certain way.
Yes,
And you just have
I've
to,
heard.
I'm a little different. I always try to listen to the other side. If you're on one side of an issue, opposite of me, I will listen to you.
That's right.
And I think we've forgotten that. Right now, we demonize each other. We completely want to decimate your political enemy.
Yes.
And a lot of times, if you really just understand what they're saying, we both want the same things, but we just have different paths of getting to
Exactly.
safety and healthy life, and a good life for our family and children. So I may not agree
Yes.
with the opposing viewpoint, but you've got to be able to listen and at least consider, but also hold on to your own convictions too.
Yeah, principles and values.
It's a tightrope.
Yes.
It's a tightrope.
Because a lot of people have forgotten, they said, the freedom that we have is to discuss. They said, you have the freedom to think one way, and I have the freedom to think my way. But if we completely destroy that, I may be wrong, or maybe something of my mind, or something that I'm convicted may be wrong, and you may have a better way of thinking, even politically, church-wise, or anything, if we cannot come and talk and hash both of our viewpoints out, then what are we doing? We're going to be stuck here, and nobody's going to be able to get to our both desired goal. Right. Either way, both of us have a different way of getting to that goal, as you said.
And it's such a polarizing time, and I worry everyone's just, hunkering down with their own tribe, and that's my tribe, and I don't. Yeah, I don't care about you. My job is to destroy you, and that's not helping us right now.
Exactly. And the mindset is to listen. It said you don't have to give up anything to listen and consider.
Right.
So it may just feel like nonsense, but for you to consider, that opens the door for both sides to say, how can we work together to get where we're going? Maybe you have your side, I have mine. I don't agree with the things you're doing, you don't agree with mine, but we can still sit down and be mannerly and talk and say, look, this is what I'm doing, this is what you're doing. Let's not hate each other. Let's see what we can do together and see.
And it may surprise you, you have some common ground with that person. You may have very different ways of trying to get to the same goal.
Yes.
As we said, but they're not crazy.
Exactly.
They're not worthless. They're not, a worthless human being. They do have motivations of why they think the way they do, and offer that respect, and hopefully you get it back. And that's what we need more of, I think.
I think the one thing is said, it doesn't matter how people treat you; it's about how you treat them.
That's right.
So. But on that, end it here. Thank you for coming on to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Isaac. I appreciate it.
Of course. And for all of you out there, said remember to like, share, and subscribe. And it's Isaac, James, and I'll see you later. Take care.
Thanks again.
All righty. Thank you.